Hi everybody, I'm going to do a quick tutorial on how to use the Family Tree app to reserve temple names and ordinances for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So the first thing that you need to do is download this Family Tree app. It's this one that's on the second to last row here on my phone. It's white with a little gray and green tree. So you'll click on it. This is what it looks like. If you haven't used this app before, you'll have to log in. If you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, then you can just use, the login information is the same that you would use to log into your Member Tools app or churchofjesuschrist.org. If you're not a member, though, you can still create a username and password to do genealogical research. But this app is super, super great for members of the church who want to do temple ordinances for their deceased family members. So as you can see, when I open the app, this shows the small version of my family tree. Here's me, there's my husband, there's my parents and grandparents, and so on. So I'm going to go up to about the middle of the 1700s to start looking for names. Going beyond the 1700s into like the 1500s isn't the greatest idea because records were not really that good at all. There are some countries who do better than others. For example, China and other Oriental countries have a lot of really good records. But if you go into like Scandinavian countries and things, it's really, really hard to find names that don't have zillions of duplicates. So I recommend sticking between like the 17 and 1900s, just for where the app is right now, where Family Search is right now with their records. So I'm going to click on this gray arrow and go up a little bit. And as we go up, something I would like you to notice is how much information the lines have. So there is a little bit of a strategy of which lines you go up. As you can see, some of these names, so for example, William Stewart here, he has his birth date and death date, but this guy right here, Samuel Thompson, only has his birth date, and his death date just says deceased. But then this one over here, Gideon Brownell, has a birth date, a death date, and a picture. And that is awesome because it means that his line has been more researched. And sometimes people think that lines that have been more researched have fewer temple names to be found, when it's actually the opposite. The more information you have on a line, the more people need to be reserved. That's just what I've found as I've been doing family research for a while, so that's a great thing to look for. And I also look at the men's information rather than the women's information. The reason being for that is that historically, it's just been that men have had more information recorded about them. That's just kind of a simple fact. And then also, sometimes, this is just kind of an interesting thing to think about. Sometimes men's wives would die in childbirth. That was a lot more common in the olden days. And so sometimes men will have more descendants than their wives do, simply because the man might have married more than once if his wife died earlier on in their marriage. So that doesn't always happen. Like, for example, for Gideon, I don't know if that actually happened to him, but as I've dug into more research, I've found that typically men have more descendants than the women do, or at least have more descendants recorded. So I'm going to go up his line, one more. Okay, this is great. So this is another really good example. We have birth date and death date, but no picture. Birth date, death date, no picture. This one has a picture, so this one probably has the most information. And I'm going to go up here to the top right-hand corner and click on Descendants with Tasks. So this will show you all of Jonathan Alden's descendants that need some kind of work done. So here is the spread that it shows you. As you can see, there's lots of different kinds of icons here. The blue icons aren't something that we're going to worry about today. They mean that you need a record hint, which is like someone needs a census attached to them to give them more information. But I'm going to show you how to reserve names to take to the temple. So up here at the top, where it says 3 generations, click on it and change it to 5 generations. This will show you more people, more descendants. And it looks different on Android phones. So if you don't have an iPhone, it might be in a different location. These things might be in a different location, but the lists are the same, and the principle is the same. So it might just take a little bit of a second with layout differences. So change it to 5 generations, and then here at the top, where it says All Hints and Temple, click on Temple, because this sorts it to just temple ordinances instead of the other record hints. As you scroll down, you can see there's 2 different colors of temples. The yellow temples mean that somebody needs their work done, but they don't actually have enough information yet. The green temples mean, though, that they do have enough information. to be reserved. So click on the green temple, not on the name, but on the green temple icon, and it'll pop up. Okay, this is interesting. These aren't names that I'm going to reserve because, as you can see, this top one, Clarissa here, the green temple icons have little clocks on them. So this means that these ordinances have already been shared with the temple, which means that somebody has already found this name and has already sent it to the temple. So for example, if this was my great-great-grandma or something and I wanted to do her name and somebody had already reserved it, I wouldn't have to go contact that person who had reserved it. All that I would have to do is just click on the name and take it to my own reserved list. But because all I'm doing is sharing the names with the temple, I'm just going to leave that one shared. So I'm not going to worry about this one. And then for the duplicates down here, you're guaranteed to run into duplicates. But one thing that I've been discussing with other people who do a lot of family history is that merging duplicates is super important, but eventually artificial intelligence is going to be powerful enough to do all of that work for us. And so what we need to focus on is reserving names that are already ready so that those people can get their ordinances done as soon as possible, and then eventually the computers will help to clean up the system, and then we'll be able to reserve the duplicate names. So basically what that means is go ahead and leave the duplicates. You don't have to do them. Okay, so let's go down. Let's click on Hannah here. Nope, there's duplicates. Sarah. Oh, perfect. Okay, so we ran into names that have already been shared. We ran into duplicates, and this is what it looks like when you can reserve a name. So Sarah here has all of her ordinances available. So I'm going to click on Continue here at the top, and then you check the box here at the bottom, and then you add it to your reserved family names list right here at the this big blue button at the bottom. But before I do that, I just want to tell you something. Some people worry about the names that they reserve on Family Search. They worry that maybe they're not close enough of a relative, or that maybe they shouldn't be reserving somebody who's not a direct line ancestor. That really isn't actually the case. You're allowed to do cousins, you're allowed to do distant relatives, you're allowed to do relatives who are related to you through marriage. Basically what it is that if Family Search allows you to reserve it, then you can reserve it. If you can't, if you're too far away from relation, or the person doesn't have enough information or something like that, Family Search won't even let you reserve it. So if you can reserve it, then do. Because all the people need their temple work done, so do as many of the names as you possibly can. So add to reserved family names list. Adding family names. It sometimes takes a second, just depending. And there you go, that was it. So that's how you find a name and reserve it for the temple. And I would just go down the line and check to see if there's any other ones. See, like for example, this one. This person needs their sealing to parents. All these rest of the blue ones have already been done, but the parent sealing hasn't been done. So I'm gonna click continue. Check the box, add to reserved family list. Perfect. Go down, look, we have 2 more. Perfect. So you can literally find hundreds of names in just a few minutes, because a lot of times it won't just show you one name that needs to get reserved. It'll show you that person's spouse and their children, and you can reserve lots of people at once. So you can see all these people are popping up at the same time, even though they've been shared at the temple already. If they hadn't been, you could reserve all those people at once. So, yep, these have all been shared. That one's a duplicate. These have been shared already. So, yeah, anyway, I won't do all of these right now. I'll come back and do this line later, but you can see just how many names need to be done. And this line was already really researched. There was already a lot of information on it, but that just means that there is more information on the people who have not been, not had their ordinances done yet, which is awesome. So scroll back up to the top after you do this whole 5 generations list and change it to 4 generations. The reason being is that the app is a little bit buggy, and so, because it's been updated a lot recently, so sometimes when you click 5 generations, it'll only show you the 5th generation instead of 1 through 5. So clicking on 4th generations helps you to pick up all the people who are missed in the 5th generation page, so you can get more names on the same person's descendants. So when I clicked on 4 generations, it just spread everything out again. So click on all again, and then click on temple, and it shrinks it again. And you just go through and do exactly the same thing and click on all the names and see which ones you haven't reserved yet, which is awesome. Now that you know how to reserve a name, I'm going to show you how to share a name. So if you look at the very, very bottom of my screen, there's an icon that says tree. I'm going to tap on it. Boop. It takes me back to my family tree. Then there's tasks, and there's temple, and then there's recents. So I'm going to go back to temple right here in the middle and refresh it a little bit. So this shows you the names that you have already reserved and the names that you can share with the temple. So as you can see, I've shared over 7,000 names at the temple. I found those just over the past few months. Like there's so much opportunity for temple work. Right now, because the temples are closed because of coronavirus, I recommend just sharing all of your names. But even if they weren't closed, I actually still share all of the names that I reserve for the temple. The reason being is because when you find a name and you keep it in your reserved list, so you have a reservation list and a shared list. They're two different things. Your reservation list only allows you to reserve a name for 2 years. If you haven't done a name within 2 years, they put the name back out into your family tree and you have to find them all over again. So the best thing that you can do is to share all of your names at the temple, and then so even if the person has been in line for over 2 years, they won't get put back out into the family tree and they'll have to be found again. They'll just still be in line to get their ordinances done, which is much, much better than having to be found again. So everything will be done eventually. They'll build more temples, more people will be able to go. So even if somebody's been on your shared list for a long time, don't worry, because the name will get done. So to share a name with the temple, I'm going to click on this little checkbox next to the side, and you can check as many as you want here. I'm just going to do one for now. And normally, the app's not letting me right now, but normally here at this button right here, you click share, and then click share at the temple, and it would just be shared at the temple, and you'd see it pop up on your shared list. So super, super simple. You might be worried about how you can take names to the temple if you've shared everything with the temple. This is how you would do it. So assuming that you've shared all of your names at the temple, Family Search still recognizes that you were the one who found them. So when you come to your temple list, there's this banner right here at the bottom that says ordinances ready. So this means ordinances that are already ready to do, that you have already found, or that could be found on your family tree, and it searches for you. So if I wanted to go do an endowment session, I would click on endowment, searching for reservations and other temple opportunities. And it found one. Perfect. So if you're doing baptisms, it would find you 5 names because you can do 5 baptisms. But because in endowment, you can only do one at a time, it just finds one for you. So just click view people. This is the person that it found for me. I'll click continue. And then it shows me this awesome QR code. This right here, you can just take to the temple. They'll scan it at the front and they'll print the name for you. So you don't have to print names anymore. You honestly don't even have to go up your family search tree that often if you don't want to. You can just go to ordinances ready. So this is a fantastic way to teach youth how to take names to the temple. This is a great way to do it for you if you're in a hurry. And overall, it honestly also saves you the time of printing it yourself. And the temple is able to do all of this for you. So you can either take a screenshot of this, you can close your phone and open it again. I like to save it to photos right here, like this. So that way I can go into my Photos app, and there it is. Perfect.